Welcome to MindShifters Radio. Today is Wednesday, March the 4th, 2026. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart. And welcome, everybody. Honored, delighted that we get to move forward the conversation one more notch. Anyone have anything exciting to share? Barry?
Yes.
Andrea? Go for it.
I sent you a bunch of stuff.
I saw that.
You probably haven't had a chance to get into it. And
No.
I prefaced with a warning that this professor, those first pieces are, one is like 45 minutes and one's over an hour. And he's Yong Kun. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'll have to figure that out. But he's Chinese. The first one that attracted my attention was he laid out the way he sees that this whole Iran war thing is most likely to play out and what he thinks is happening, and he brought some insights into it that were phenomenal, and at the same time a little concerning, to say the least. And if anything, it was inspiring to bring that to a greater awareness, So
What's the basic thesis of it?
Well, it's about it lays out the master plan of the war theories and policies that are driving these leaders, and what, like, our ultimate goal in America is, he's saying, is to, the war plan is based on 20th century, while Iran's 21st century, and that we are working from the old imperialist model, and that the one of the most delicate balances in the whole Middle East there is water, and we've heard a lot about that over the years about how water is going to be a big thing and all that. But he has
coming here too.
Pardon me.
I say it's coming here too.
Oh yeah, and I can attest to that. I helped a guy. We put a well in on his property last year, and we had to go 700 feet. And generally, you can go 100, 200, 300 is what was an average well.
Right.
And he said, that's the fourth well within just a couple of months I've had to go that deep. And I thought about that. He didn't really offer anything, but as I thought about it, with all the industry and the stress on the aqua, what am I trying to say? The aqua, level.
The aquifers dropping.
The aquifers are being drawn down. And so that well traditionally runs about $9,000 or $10,000. That well costs $20,000 to put that well in. And then, and they said that was, this is not an uncommon thing now, but I had never heard of a well going that deep here personally. And so of course, I've been a little bit out of that loop. So the aquifer is under attack, from our use of it, and also just not being mindful and conscious about how we could eliminate the easy go-to. There's ways to counter that wouldn't be so destructive. However, it appears that it's not understood or generally talked about. Okay, but over in Saudi Arabia and all, I mean, some of those guys are at a negative 2,000, 3,000% water consumption. In other words, they have to import 2,000% more water than they make to have water. And
Thank Nestle.
yeah, and particularly Dubai and the whole Arab Emirate states are they're more of they're like a ghost economy. You know, they don't really produce anything like
Right.
corn or beans, or, tangible products. So what they do is they're a financial center, and that's what they generally 80% of the money that props up our stock market comes from Saudi Arabia investments. So that's a big deal. And that folks, after they hit that was the reason they said the logic behind them hitting Dubai along all those targets along the Hamas Strait, and that strait, if they block that strait, that blocks 20% of the oil that's being shipped in the world, and almost all of it goes to India, China, Russia in exchange for food, because they get back 80% of their food from the exchange of that 20% of the oil. So there's a big ripple effect potentially that is there, and that it was so incredibly educating. I don't know how far you want me to go into it, but the taking out of the Ayatollah was like one of those stupidest things that we could have done, as far as they think it's a power move, but it's based on the old structure, and that it actually ignited Jihad and Shiite, and it could possibly unify the whole Muslim nation, which is 2 billion people in that area there.
Yeah.
And he lays this out in a not in a dramatic. He's a professor who's been studying this. They're very knowledgeable, you can tell, and his facts that he presents are very linear, and they make good sense. And
Yeah.
one thing he said was that Iran is using the drones, and they have these mobile trucks, and that they produce 500 drones a day, and it costs them $50,000 to produce a drone that can take out a desalination plant, one of them, which
Right.
which he said will be one of their targets to knock the water out. We're using these big missile truck things that launch $1 million missiles.
Yep.
And it takes sometimes $2 or $3 million missiles to knock down one $50,000 drone. So the math is completely unsustainable.
Insane.
Yeah. And that was a real eye opener, and that's the U.S. depending on the old shock and awe. That's that theme that we've used for years here from our government.
I think it's called shock and awe stupidity.
Without a doubt. So, man,
you tie that together with water. Saudi Arabia and other Middle Eastern countries are drilling wells in Arizona, California.
Yeah.
Nestle has announced that water is not a right for people, and they're going around buying up and contracting water all over America. They warned the government. I forget the numbers. It's been a long time since I've read it, but they warned the U.S. government, I think it's about 10 years ago, that in America there was a 30 years of water supply left, and we were out of it, and that the draining of the aquifer is going to lead to, well, there are countries in the world right now that are fighting wars just over water.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal, and definitely time to wake up and start to be sane in the use of water. Like, for one thing, and you've heard me say this on the show before, probably, is to flush 1.5 gallons if you've got a high efficiency toilet, 1.6 gallons of water. Or if you don't have a high efficiency, it's 3 to 5 gallons of water for 10 ounces of urine is the most insane thing in the world when you realize that people are fighting wars over fresh water, and fresh water is such a restricted resource in our world today. And Nestle is basically, as a multinational company, is looking to literally take over the water supplies of the world. They're buying up left, right, and center.
Yeah. And so, and that little piece of property that we're trying to secure, that we've been working on for a few months and hoping to somehow move there. I don't know. This has been a big challenge financially, but there's no well on that property. It got separated from when they divided the property, and I wasn't able to talk them into letting me tap into the well. Or anyway, so that started me on this search, and then I said, well, it could cost $10,000 to $20,000 to drill another well. And I did a lot of the math on exactly on what you're talking about, based on what's the average water consumption, and toilets, showers, washing machines. Um, those are the big users. You know, Drinking water is not the biggest component of it. That's the smaller component of it, is the actual drinking water. But then you have to calculate the annual rainfall of an area. Then you have to calculate the size of a cistern that you would need in order to have enough water on hand to support that system. And it gets to be quite, it's big, it's bigger than
Definitely something to think about for
yeah.
sure.
So you got a lot of factors going on there. And it's a bit of an eye opener when you really do the calculations on how much water a residence uses and what you actually need to sustain that operation. We did some good experimentation out in Heartland, where if it's yellow, let it mellow.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone ever forgets that statement if they've ever been out to Heartland at all. And then we put in
Even my granddaughter knows that.
yeah, and then we put in the composting toilet system, that used, even though it did use a regular flush toilet, it put it right back into the
Into the earth.
earth and potentially into your landscape systems and stuff like that. So there's things you can do, but it takes an act of will. So here's
For sure. Awareness first.
Yeah, this is awareness, exactly. And this is why I think you're going to really appreciate this guy too. I sent you the other one, clip of his. It's called "Become Mentally Unbreakable" in 30 days. This is so that he calls the top 1% of elite, and he's not talking about elite power mongers, that kind of thing. He's talking about elite that have actual ability to think.
Human beings.
Yes,
Actual human beings. Yeah.
And then he's got
Cool.
a
Well, I'll look forward to looking at them.
and then he's got a 21-day mindset. But I think you're gonna really connect with the similarities. He's using a little different language, but he's got a very good layout and a presentation. And once you get through that game theory, I think that just confuses people too, because game theory has nothing to do with playing games.
Right.
This is a whole concept.
Whole different thing. Yeah.
Takes longer to explain than I think a lot of people would see that and just go past it thinking we're talking about a video game or something.
Yeah.
But you understand it, and you'll be able to really get into that, digest it, and then go with it. But here's the deal. What was maybe a topic here is the thoughts, words, and actions, and my words fly up, my thoughts below. And that third one I sent you was talking about rewiring the mind, 21 days. But everything begins with awareness. He was right on track with that, exactly what you offered there from Go. Is you got to have the awareness. This is, but most people turn from the awareness because it's uncomfortable, because it challenges their belief system. Where have you heard that before? And
definitely got to get through that BS.
Exactly, it's all integrated in that. And so, and then he touches on how positive thinking is very limited in any impact. That's the that's the words, thoughts, words, actions. And so I looked at that, and it's like, okay, well, what he was offering was that action is the first primary. After awareness, then you're taking action, and then the action allows you to build in the mind structure, the thoughts that will back up that action, which then you offer with your words, just like the final thing. You don't say anything, and he talks about holding silence, is how powerful that is, and how also liberating that is, and that it goes against the way that we're
If the breath is present.
indoctrinated into the society through agreeing with people. The silence is not just chiming in or going along with the group, and the ability to stand in whatever your thought system is without having to engage in an offering of discussion or argument or dialogue. That's extremely powerful, and it makes the other folks uncomfortable because you're not joining the club. People want everybody to join the club so they can feel safe and comfy. You follow me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
So
I'll look forward to looking at some of it.
And it's a very, very much appreciated when we see things being made and progress in different areas and different ways to present things. And we have a very real situation going on that at this point, there is no easy solution for the world itself.
No.
The only solution we have is to keep doing our work and to clean up our stuff. And to try to
Well, I think we've got more than that. We can do our work, clean our stuff up, and then action.
That was
have a mind that's in alignment, then start to do something to educate others, bring others on board, and put pressures on the powers that are making these insane decisions to.
Yeah, that was my third piece of that.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. But you got to clean yourself up first.
Yep.
Once you get that cleaned up, and then share it with the ability to understand, and then offer to assist, like he's talking about, help, the therapeutic value of one human helping another's. We can do this through the change and transformation, and it's really what becomes more of a one to one to one to one to many, to that kind of progression, as opposed
each one teach one.
Each one teach one. Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah. One at a time. Give it to somebody. Give it away. And of course, one of the most powerful ways to keep this work is to give it away. Because there's a point when you think of it on an energetic level, there's a point where we're absorbing information's coming in, and that has one impact on the mind, but it doesn't have the depth of impact that it has when you bring it into speech, in terms of getting it into regulatory speech. So absorbing it is one thing, but then radiating it, sending it out, adds a whole different solidification of possibilities if the mind's in alignment with truth and personal codes in line with truth. So that's where we'd be heading.
Yes, sir.
That's what it's all about. And in tonight's session, we're going to cover the personal code evaluations. That's going to be our conversation in the codependence session at 7:00 Eastern time tonight.
And that may be our last session in the codependence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what's going to be this one, whether we have one more or not, but we'll certainly announce that tonight. And how are you doing, Miss Cammie?
I'm doing all right.
No, well, that's nice to hear.
Yeah. Growth is happening. I just kind of got out of bed and got out of the shower, so I'm not really with it yet this morning.
Aha. Okay, well, glad you're here.
Me too. Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I started up this morning about 4:00 in still point breathing, and I had an interesting. It's like I hit a new level of energy with still point, and I don't know. It was about 4 hours later when Jeanie came back in the room, and I shared with her that all hell had broken loose. That I was still in that breath around 8:30, 9 o'clock. And it was just like high speed. And you know, at a point where my mind couldn't keep up with it, but so many things had broken loose internally. And it just was like going from one place to another, to another, to another, to another, to another throughout my whole life. And it's like stepping into process on another level. So that was pretty cool. It was a sweet time. And realizing more and more the importance of being with that breath. Gary had shared with me a link to an interview on Gaia. An interviewer does a thing called Open Minds, and part of the conversation is, you know, coming to the conclusion that we've talked about here, that we are breath-based beings. We are not physical beings. We are not mental beings. We're not emotional beings. We're breath-based beings. And when we shut off our breath, that's when we shut down our human lives, our human intelligence, our human capacity. And it's just coming home to me on new levels, just over and over and over again. So breathing with everybody. Does anyone have any questions, thoughts? Cami, I wonder if it might be the space to step into the purpose exercise.
She said in the chat room she's not in a place where she can speak freely.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Well, then we'll just say hello, and, you know, the thought comes to maybe go ahead and talk about purpose a little bit. That when you realize that we are not physical beings, but energetic beings, what we are aligned behind energetically is what we're empowered to create. And if we're aligned by the world and the carbon-based memory system, you know, you think about, I've mentioned this over and over and over again, but that by the age of 4, most every one of us is brainwashed into being a card-carrying member of the one world universal religion of blame. And that if we're aligned behind that, then of course, not only do we suffer from the blame syndrome, the pain, the trauma that goes along with blaming, but we become creators of reasons to blame. It's kind of like that old thing of, you know, to a hammer, the whole world looks like a nail. To a mind that's founded in blame, that mind, because of the filter that is coming through, is going to continuously find reasons to do over and over again what's been done by the culture that brainwashed it and or the family system that brainwashed it. And the necessity of removing oneself from that, which means piece by piece, the thought disorders that align us with something like blame have to be removed. And one of the ways of doing that is to tap into and align with something other than the blame game, something other than the hostility game, something other than the fear game. There's certainly plenty of that available on the earth. And so we devised an exercise to move the mind out of that misalignment into alignment with who we are as human beings. And there's a whole hierarchy of alignment that's needed to do that. And the first step in it is to come to recognize and really root in the experience of who we are and what our purpose is. And in the workshop, Purpose, Personal Power, and Commitment, which both of you guys have got in your resources might be a good workshop if this topic is resonating for you to review. But the primary purpose, and this is just my observation, I've had many people who've agreed with it, but then I've had a few who've disagreed, so I'm not going to state it as an absolute fact, but my take is that the purpose of every human being is exactly the same. And that is, and I'm shifting the language from what's in the workshop, actually, because I realized that I, for a long time, was tricked by the Greeks into thinking about a spiritual world, like there's some other spiritual thing to do. Because I, as most of the world has been, was conned by the Greeks, who talked about this spirit thing as though it were real, and it isn't. If you go back to the Aramaic language, go back to the root of what Yeshua was speaking in his language, there isn't even a word for spirit. So you'll hear me in the workshop talk about the idea is to develop a viable, conscious spiritual body. And I now realize that's off base, that in Aramaic, the word that the Greeks translated as spirit and Holy Spirit and some kind of ghost type of thing doesn't exist in the Aramaic language. The word is breath. So I'd alter that just slightly, that we're designed to, or our purpose is to develop a viable, conscious, breath-based body that we become aware of and function with and out of the breath continuously. And that is our primary purpose. That's the source of intelligence. The breath is the source of intelligence. The breath is the thing that animates this body, which, if you go back to the creation story, it speaks about, the dust of the earth. The dust itself is nothing. It's just dust. It's just soil. The animating factor is the breath. So to develop your awareness of self fully, so that breath is engaged in everything you do at every instant, that it's never given up for even one instant, becomes primary. And then, and this is where we have an exercise in the workshop, is the secondary purpose. And the secondary purpose is unique to each person. One of the challenges with tapping into what one's unique individual purpose is, what is your individuality, your individual breath pattern designed to bring into the world, to contribute to the world? And it's unique to each one of us. Culture has already usurped that, has taken that over for virtually everybody. And that is the whole, what's called an educational system, and it really rarely is actually education. What's been called education, it's really indoctrination. The word educare means to draw out, to draw through this breath-based existence something, the unique individuality. And that unique individuality has a purpose. And it isn't to go get a job, make money, pay taxes, and die. But that's what most are brainwashed to, and it's hard to escape from that. So we have an exercise where we suggest, once you start to do the exercise, that you review it and review it and review it until you really tweak it to its max. And the exercise is pretty simple and straightforward. You don't need the worksheet to do it, although the worksheet is on the website at whyagain.org. But the first step in determining what your unique secondary purpose is is to make a list of 10 things you enjoy doing. Whatever it is. Playing baseball, singing, fishing, building things, tearing things down, whatever it is, a list of 10 things you enjoy doing. And then make a list of 10 unique characteristics that you have. That's 10 things that are unique to you. Now, unique doesn't mean you're the only one that has those characteristics or abilities, but you have them. Maybe of equal measure somebody else, maybe more, maybe less, doesn't matter. But just 10 unique characteristics or talents that you have. And your talent might be writing or, drawing or whatever it happens to be. One of the key ones in mine is synthesizing information. Bringing together, one of my doctorates is in holistic philosophy. How does the whole thing work together? So that's one of my talents that I was fortunate enough to recognize early as I was developing the skills to earn that doctorate. So what are 10 unique talents that you have? And then the third step is from your highest breath-based awareness, what would a perfect world look like? And one of the questions I ask in the workshop is, go back to a time, is how many, and I would say probably over the years when I've asked this question, probably 75 to 80% of people put their hand up that they have this recognition. How many remember when you look at the way the world was working and you said to yourself, this isn't it. This isn't the way it's supposed to be. I remember not long ago you were sharing on the show, Cammie, or maybe it was in the codependence workshop, that you were quite young and that you knew it was just that it was about love. And, that's exactly the remembrance that most everybody has who puts their hand up. It's like, yeah, I remember when it's supposed to be about caring and sharing and nurturing and being with each other, living, So what's your vision? What does that look like? And then once you've got those 3 steps completed, then what you do is you step into synthesizing those steps. So look at, and it's like, this is a way to bypass the brainwash of carbon-based memory that says, oh, I have to do this. I'm supposed to. The world expects me to do this. You synthesize because it's built into your very nature. You synthesize these 3 steps. Things I enjoy doing, talents or characteristics or capabilities I have, and my vision. So aligning those 3 things creates a purpose statement, bottom line of what, before you take an action, you align with. Because without alignment, there's no power. If I have a TV set and the antenna is having trouble getting a signal, I can't stand here and yell at the TV and say, try harder, give me a better picture, give me better sound. What do I do if I want a better picture and better sound? I tweak, I align the antenna, I align the circuits in the TV set until I get a peak transfer of energy. And that's what we're looking at with purpose, is to get to the point where you live in a peak transfer of energy because you're aligned with your purpose. People who have, the purpose way over here. I remember one person who came to a workshop had a friend who his mother wanted him to be a doctor. And he wanted to be a truck driver. But his mother badgered him and badgered him and badgered him. And so he went to school and he walked and he got his degree as a doctor. And he literally left the stage after getting his degree, walked down and handed it to his mother, and get a job as a truck driver. He knew what he wanted to do, even though other forces were trying to live through him. And you take a look at the period of your life and how are other forces trying to work through you that do not support your alignment with your true being. Look to surround yourself with people who are aligned with and are in support of true being. And as you do that, personal power shows up. The title of the workshop is Purpose, Personal Power, and Commitment. Ties in with that whole idea. So when you come into alignment, you step into an energetic state that, and while it's accompanied by the breath, all of those things aligned and the breath moving is when you have access to the most, I'm looking for the right word, the highest amplitude of energy that you can possibly have to fuel your life, to fuel your world. And so to give you a sample of that, I'm going to share what my purpose is. And Jeanie, maybe you want to get yours out and share it too, just to give an example of what that looks like.
Got
So
it.
my purpose, and one of the things, okay, well, if you got it, maybe you can start. But one of the things that I see as being really important too is that when one starts to do this exercise, they come up with a certain statement. And usually it's still quite misaligned because of the brainwash that's in the mind. And so over time, you knock things out that don't fit, you bring things in that do. There might be things that you really like to do, but they don't support your purpose. And so you stop doing them. And there might be things that you really dislike doing, but because they're on purpose, you do them, even though you don't particularly like to do them, because that's what brings that alignment together. And so, sweetie, if maybe you want to tell a little bit. You've gone through several stages in your purpose awareness. So maybe you'd like to share yours and tell a little bit about how it's changed and how that's impacted your world.
I first did my first purpose statement in 2003. And that was when I was introduced to the work. And shortly after, I did my first purpose statement. And then a few years ago, we did intuitive development. We were on the beach, and Ari was actually there for that one as well.
Yeah,
and one
I
of the
remember.
exercises we did was we'd sit and close our eyes. Our partner would write down whatever we said, so we didn't have to try to hang on to it. And there was 2 questions to ask. Who are you? And, you might start out saying, I'm Jeanie, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm, whatever, and go through, I'm a teacher. And then the second question was, why are you here? And after we did that exercise, then I realized that my answers of who was I and why was I here had a lot to do with family, and that wasn't included in my purpose statement. So in 2017, I rewrote my purpose statement. And so it says, I now use my deep devotion to my family and friends to be supportive, enjoy time together, listening and sharing. I will nourish and comfort others as I create a safe space for healing to happen. I will use my writing abilities to produce a book that shares my experiences of healing and expresses the potential and hope to others. I now use my love for learning to search for truth, and then use my teaching skills to share my highest understanding with those whose paths I cross. I now use my intuition, my inner tutor, to follow in the way of peace. I will stay committed, fully aware, responsible, and connected to God. I will radiate the love in me to be a clear voice to my calling so that my life produces a longing in others to follow in the way of truth, to join me on the path, to likewise make a difference. I will use my organizational and administrative skills in accord with this purpose. I have to have such an impact on this planet that we create the shift where we all experience our being, love, and live in truth and harmony as God originally planned. And you're muted, Michael.
I was saying breathing life into that with you and supporting you in that. That's awesome. And I have saved on my phone my purpose and a statement of yours. And I don't know where this one comes of yours, but it doesn't resemble what you just read, sweetie.
It
So
was
I don't know where
probably
this
the
came.
first one that I wrote.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Let me share it and just see. I live as breath expressing love through devotion to family, grandchildren, friends, and all whom life brings into my care. I cultivate homes and gatherings where listening, sharing, play, and tenderness allow love to be felt and lived. I nourish and comfort across generations so children grow, knowing safety, joy, courage, and belonging. I write and teach from lived awareness of breath and love, sharing stories of healing that awaken hope and creative possibility. I follow the guidance of breath within me as intuition, wisdom, and peace. I organize, steward, and communicate so healing unfolds naturally in the daily life of everyone I see or connect with. I live love visibly so my grandchildren and all who meet me learn how to meet challenges with presence, forgiveness, vitality, and creativity. I dedicate my gifts to families living whole, connected, resilient, and alive in love. I don't know where I got that, sweetie, but that's what I've
That
got stored
doesn't
here.
sound familiar at all. Maybe you ran my purpose statement through chat or something.
Maybe. I don't know. That's interesting. Okay, well, that's okay. Well, and my purpose, I'll share. Well, before I do that, let's see if anybody has any thoughts or questions. Is this all making sense for everybody? Questions, thoughts? No? Okay. And I'll share what I have. And again, when I read this, it's probably since I first started to realize purpose and tie into it, it's probably gone through 6 or 7 different iterations where it's changed significantly. So I'll just share what my current vision is. And basically, whenever I'm going to do something, my alignment is, does this fit with what my purpose is? If it doesn't, I'm not doing it. So I live as breath expressing love through clarity, compassion, synthesis, and the continuous extension of love to every mind, heart, and being on the planet. I dedicate myself to being a healing presence to all of humanity and living with this purpose as a prime directive in my life. I bring forward the living teachings and revelations of Yeshua as direct, relatable, understandable, experiential wisdom available to all generations past, present, and future. I communicate and teach so truth is felt and lived through breath, presence, and love. I steward revelation as a living flow that renews life, awareness, vitality, and creative participation. I open myself to direct guidance from the Creator and the Creator's breath. I dedicate my eternal life to supporting all of humanity, remembering ourselves as one creative, eternal whole called love. This vibration through me and others who join expresses across the planet in all cultures, languages, and in languages, in families, and all systems of care and healing. As my beloved and I travel the planet, every interaction we have inspires each person who hears us to contact and express their highest creative abilities and being, so that together we create a world where each supports every other in the full expression of their true essence and purpose. Defining and setting plans and goals that supports full achievement of this purpose, and doing things that carry it out while maintaining time for each other to play, keep romance alive, and heal together are easy, automatic, and supported by Ruka and all of life.
That's nothing like the one that we have on the website for you. So you'll have to send it to
We'll
me
have
so
to-
I can update the
I'll have to
website.
send you, yes. And I can only imagine, because there are some things in that that are, this is a newer iteration of it. And I guess I'm not, so much going on, but I must have sat down one day and just reviewed yours, reviewed mine, because I've also got in our purpose section in my notes, I've got our shared purpose. And so this would be another thing to look at, is in your relationships, especially your closest, most committed relationships, what's the shared purpose of that relationship? So that, again, energetically, there's an alignment. So I'm going to share my shared purpose for us, sweetie. We live as partners in creation, embodying love as breath in motion. Our relationship nurtures intimacy, joy, play, aliveness, healing, and shared awakening. We cultivate family systems where our children, grandchildren, and everyone we think of is empowered to reclaim their birthright, to grow fluent in love, presence, forgiveness, compassion, and conscious creativity. We generate environments where inherited incoherent patterns soften and heal. Love in conscious community grows, and life expresses fully across the generations. We bring forward the original liberating teachings of Yeshua in forms that are experiential and accessible to every culture and language on earth. We dedicate our voices, writing, travel, technology, and resources to the flourishing of life everywhere. Each interaction we engage becomes an invitation to live as love. We live eternal life as continuous renewal through breath, presence, and love. So that's what I wrote as our shared purpose. And I don't recall, honey, whether that was something that we worked on together, or whether this was just something that came up one day and I put it together. I'm thinking there was a radio show a while back that we did. Say it again.
I said, I think it's just something that you did. It isn't
Yeah.
so familiar, but I agree with
Yeah,
you.
I think there was a workshop, a conversation on a radio show back a year or two ago. And I think out of that radio show, I kind of redid this. So that's where that came from. So, in honor of that, my commitment is that I promise to trust you enough to tell you the truth, to be true to you, to always engage in just and fair behavior with you. I commit to always being sweetness in your life, to nurture you daily and treat you lovingly, gently, and with respect. In my thoughts, my words and actions, whether in your presence or not. In every interaction, I commit to affection for you, to look for and acknowledge the highest and best in you as I surrender to love, our true nature. I will use only voice tones and language that reflect my deep caring for you. My connection to love, our source, gratitude for my relationship with you, and our serenity will always be more important than any issue. I open my being to embrace you in my love. I open my being to be embraced in your love. If anything I've committed to here sounds hollow or anything unlike love comes up in me, I will hold this in my heart and listen as I learn to give up any denial and learn to speak, experience, and be responsible for and forgive my own realities. I'm here for and with you. I promise to speak only truth to you as I keep communication open and keep love conscious, active, and present. As we heal, celebrate life, and grow together. So that's our purpose exercise and the result that comes about from living it. And I'll go back. I've also got in this file here, and this will kind of show you what I'm talking about when I say you want to be continuously upgrading it. So my statement, my purpose statement from back in 1997 went like this. We have created a renewed heartland as a platform for delivering the tools of forgiveness to every mind on the planet, and in the process empowered ourselves and everyone with whom we've had contact in living our purpose and healing new levels of ourselves. We learn more about and gathering support for delivering the tools to every mind on the planet. My capacity to keep love conscious, active, and present has increased 100-fold. This is expressed in keen mental and spiritual clarity. I'll change that word to breath clarity. Powerful intuitive capacity and an enhanced willingness to breathe, honor truth, and live in revelation, brings such deep alignment that spontaneous healing happens all around me. The page just jumped a little bit, excuse me. I'm so aligned and in tune with the Aramaic words of Yeshua that I receive from my ordinary touch, guidance, and support from him on deeper and deeper levels daily. The frequency of my voice and my presence are enough. Defining and setting plans and goals that supports full achievement of this purpose and doing the things to carry it out while maintaining time for each other to play, keep romance alive, and heal together are easy, automatic, and supported by Ruka and all of life. So that maybe gives you an idea of the kind of iterations you might go through as you get clearer and clearer. And I see that I've got your purpose statement here from 2011, Jeanie, and 2017, which I think is the one you just. And then there's a quote from a man named Pantajali. He says, when you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations. Your consciousness expands in every direction, and you find yourself in a new, great, and wonderful world. dominant forces, faculties, and talents become alive, and you discover yourself to be greater than the person you ever dreamed yourself to be. So that's the set of thoughts I have on purpose. And so, Cami, maybe at some point, if you need or would like to have support in clarifying yours, but I hope that will maybe support you to be looking at it and moving forward. And Terry, go ahead.
Yeah, I can offer that when I had Jeanie assist me in putting mine together this last round, it was invaluable. It was so helpful, and I appreciated it very much. I've thought about it often, and I'm ready to like get in here and revamp it and do another piece on that. So thank you. This is good.
Awesome. There's nothing like the therapeutic value of one person, one of us just being here with each other, right? I love that thing that you brought forward, that idea, Terry. That is powerful. That's, it ties right in with Yeshua, when two or more are gathered.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Blessings. See you tomorrow.